You're sitting at a cafe with a friend, talking about yet another data breach in the news. Millions of emails, passwords, private messages leaked. You say you're tightening your security. They shrug and sip their latte. I'm not worried, they say. I have nothing to hide. That sentence is one of the most dangerous lies people tell themselves online, not because they're secret criminals, because it quietly gives everyone else permission to collect, scrape, resell, and weaponize their life without resistance. Most people say that phrase thinking about police or intelligence agencies. I'm not doing crimes, so why would I care? But those are not the people who touch your data first. The first in line are companies, ad networks, data brokers, and random apps. The second in line are criminals, social engineers, stalkers, and anyone with a grudge. The third in line is your future self, 5 or 10 years from now, living under different rules and different expectations. They don't need you to be guilty of anything. They just need you to be predictable, persuadable, or vulnerable. Think about how much of your life is stored in places you barely remember. Old email accounts, DM histories, cloud backups, Google Drive, iCloud, WhatsApp, Slack, random SaaS tools, ancient forums you joined a decade ago under your real name. Every one of those is a potential source of context about you. Work issues, health worries, relationship drama, money stress, political opinions, private jokes that could look ugly out of context. I have nothing to hide sounds clean. In practice, it means I am totally okay with strangers storing all of that indefinitely and seeing it whenever they want, except you're not totally okay with it. Not when you think about it from other angles. Imagine a petty coworker who doesn't like you. Imagine a future employer screening candidates with an AI that scrapes every handle that might be yours. Imagine a divorce lawyer going through old chats line by line. Imagine a visa officer deciding whether you can move countries. Imagine a journalist digging into a minor scandal that your name accidentally brushes against. None of this requires you to have done anything illegal. It just requires data to exist and someone someday to have an incentive to look at it in the least charitable way. From a cybersecurity perspective, more exposed data means more attack surface. Every birthday, hometown, pet name, school photo, travel selfie, and humble brag about your job is one more puzzle piece an attacker can use to impersonate you. They use it to guess security questions, to write convincing phishing emails, to build fake profiles that trick your friends, to craft extortion messages that hit you where it hurts. When you say, I have nothing to hide, what attackers hear is, I have no strategy. Let's make this real with a few small stories. Take the accountant who posted harmless work-from-home jokes on Twitter. Photos of their desk, their screens blurred enough, memes about late-night spreadsheets and client calls. Years later, one of those posts ends up in a complaint thread when a client accuses the firm of mishandling sensitive documents. The meme is used as evidence they don't take privacy seriously. The firm spends months doing damage control. The accountant didn't have anything to hide. They also didn't have anything to defend themselves with because they never thought of those posts as part of their professional reputation. Or the freelance designer whose Dropbox got breached because of an old reused password. They thought, it's just mock-ups and drafts, nothing sensitive. Except inside those folders were client contracts, price negotiations, passport scans sent just once for a visa, and a CSV export of a client's newsletter list. That breach turned into extortion emails, angry phone calls from clients, and a mess with regulators. Not because the designer was a criminal, because nothing to hide made them sloppy with where things lived, or the teacher whose private group chat leaked. The chat was full of dark humor and venting, nothing illegal, but not pretty. A student's parent got hold of screenshots and shared them on Facebook. The headlines wrote themselves. The school panicked. The teacher faced public outrage and, even after things cooled down, a permanent Google trail. They didn't have something to hide in the crime sense. They had things that needed context, and context was exactly what the internet refused to provide. The pattern is always the same. Your data is not judged by the you who wrote it. It's judged by someone else later, in a different mood and with a different agenda. So what do you do instead of hiding behind, "I have nothing to hide"? You switch from hide versus show to control versus chaos. Control doesn't mean locking everything away. It means being deliberate about three things: what you share, how you secure it, and what you keep as evidence when something goes wrong. On the sharing side, the mental trick is simple. Imagine the least generous reader. Not your best friend, not the person who loves your sense of humor. Imagine the grumpiest HR manager, the strictest regulator, the most annoyed client, or the relative who already dislikes you. Imagine them reading that tweet, that DM, that email subject line, that comment. If the only way that message looks okay is with extra context, careful tone of voice, and knowledge of your personality, maybe it shouldn't live in a place where it can be screenshotted and forwarded endlessly. You still get to vent. You just pick safer channels like in-person conversations or genuinely end-to-end encrypted chats with people you'd trust with your worst day. On the security side, nothing to hide stops being an excuse. You lock down your key accounts not because you're guilty, but because you don't want to be impersonated. That means your main email, your password manager, your core cloud storage, and your primary social accounts get the best protection you can reasonably manage. Unique passwords stored in a manager. Two-factor authentication using an app or a hardware key, not just SMS codes. Recovery options that actually work and are up to date. Why those accounts? Because they're your identity anchors. If someone takes your email, they can reset your bank logins and your socials. If someone takes your main social, they can scam your followers. If someone takes your cloud storage, they can sift through years of documents and messages, looking for leverage. Securing those accounts is not about hiding crimes. It's about protecting your ability to speak as you, and about reducing the odds that your private life becomes raw material in someone else's scheme. Then there's the evidence side, and this is where people rarely think ahead. When something goes wrong online, doxing, harassment, fake reviews, deepfakes, extortion, the first instinct is often to delete, block, and move on. That's emotionally understandable, but it leaves you with no paper trail if you ever need to prove what happened. Instead of, "I have nothing to hide," adopt, "I keep enough to defend myself." That starts with a simple incident notebook. Nothing fancy. A document, a note, a private folder where you record anything that could matter later. Strange login alerts, threatening messages, suspicious payment requests, fake profiles, abuse campaigns, weird reviews. Each time something happens, you take a breath and capture it. Screenshots of the content, URLs, usernames, email headers, date and time. How you found out, what you did. You don't need to share it with anyone right away, but when you talk to a platform abuse team, a lawyer, or even just a future client who asks, "What really happened back then?" you have more than vibes. You have logs. That evidence can be crucial if someone tries to twist the story. If a harasser claims they're the victim, if a fake profile in your name scams people, if a smear campaign uses edited screenshots, your incident notes form a quiet, boring, powerful ally. Reality, recorded when it happened. We also need to talk about the legal and compliance edges without turning this into a law lecture. Most countries now have some combination of privacy laws, anti-harassment laws, and rules around threats, extortion, and non-consensual content. I'm not here to give you legal advice, but I am here to say this: "I have nothing to hide" doesn't protect you from those laws being applied to you or in your favor. If someone leaks intimate photos, posts your home address, threatens your family, or demands money to remove damaging content, you are not overreacting by treating it as more than online drama. You are in the territory where platforms and sometimes police need clear evidence. That's where your habit of saving screenshots, keeping timestamps, and not paying extortion becomes more than security hygiene. It becomes personal safety. Let's look at a common argument people use to defend nothing to hide. But what if I try so hard to be careful that I become paranoid and boring? That's fair. You don't have to erase your personality. You don't have to become a ghost. You can still be outspoken. You can still make jokes. You can still share your work and your life. The change is that you are intentional about where and how. You might decide that political debates happen in person or in small trusted groups, not in public comment sections under your real name. You might decide that photos of your kids don't go on public feeds, only in private albums. You might decide that you don't mix your professional identity with your anonymous hobby accounts, so a drama in one doesn't spill into the other. You're not hiding, you're separating. You're making it harder for one incident to blow up your entire life. There's also a quieter benefit. When you stop saying, "I have nothing to hide," you become more empathetic to people who do need extra privacy. Journalists with sensitive sources, activists and whistleblowers, people in unsafe relationships, workers in industries where being out about certain things can still cost them their job or safety. If you treat privacy as a luxury for guilty people, you lend weight to systems that will happily ignore those more vulnerable than you. If you treat privacy as a basic, practical safety measure, like having curtains on windows, you create a culture where it's normal to resist intrusive data collection and question creepy practices, even if you personally don't feel at risk that day. You can't predict everything, but you can adopt a default of, "I don't give strangers permanent leverage over my life for free." You think before posting, not, "Is this incriminating?" but "How would this look to someone who dislikes me and doesn't know the context?" You secure your core accounts not because you're shady, but because you don't want anyone else speaking as you. You treat weird messages, fake profiles, and threats as incidents to log, not just annoyances to forget. You keep enough evidence to defend your name if someone ever twists your words, impersonates you, or leaks your data. And you stop using "nothing to hide" as a reason to ignore settings, alerts, and basic hygiene. You recognize that the more serious the world takes digital privacy, the safer everyone becomes, including you on your worst day.